Hello everyone, Robert Schulte here, founder of LumaTax, longtime tax technology guy. I want to welcome you to the session. Today what we're going to do is we're going to launch a survey for your installed client taxpayer so that you can quantify their exposure risk under the Wayfare decision and physical presence attributes. So we're going to jump right in. I'll direct your attention to the screen here, the LumaTax practice summary dashboard. This is our sales tax hub. This is where you'll play. If you go across the top here and you see the Clients tab, you'll click on the Clients tab. The first thing you want to do is add a client. We'll do that. We'll click on Add the Client button, and there's two ways to do it. You can upload a data file or you can add a single client. In this instance, I'll show you how to add a single client. Here you'll see there's 5 data fields that we need to successfully launch a client survey. It's the client's business name, the client ID, the client's first name and last name, and then the client's email. It's important to note that we need a unique client ID to identify this client specifically. You'll also notice that this checkbox down here says send the naics exposure survey to this client. So the minute you do this, that's going to go out and the survey will go directly to the taxpayer client. I took the liberty of doing one of those this morning, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the email that came in, and you'll see that this brief sales tax survey is sent to your taxpayer, and what they do in this is they click the survey link and they start the process, and it's going to take them through areas of their business. 5 areas that we're going to ask about. We're going to talk a little bit about the biographical company information, the states they're located in, the locations they have physically, possibly inventory, the revenue operations, and the business operations. And any information that you've previously put in will be pre-populated for them, like those 5 fields. I'm going to go ahead and start entering some data, and you'll just have to bear with me as I go through this a little bit, but it's important to note that I'm going to go ahead and enter this data as if I were the taxpayer. I'm going to make up an address here in Seattle, Washington. I'm going to go ahead and put in a phone number. Again, I'm making up information. I'll put in an FEIN number, and this is the taxpayer doing this. And then I'm going to go ahead and select an NAICS code. Now, the taxpayer doesn't have to know the code. They just start typing their business, and it'll populate for them. We're integrated with the NAICS industry stuff, so when you have that, it'll be populated for you. Also, we only need the first 4 digits. That's going to help us quantify their risk. And then they'll click Save and Next. So, since we put in Washington as an address, if we don't put in Washington here, it's going to lower the score. A lower score means higher exposure, but we're going to go ahead and say yes, we have a location in Washington, and they'll drop this down, and we're going to go to the Washington tab. We're going to click on that, and we're going to say we've been in Washington since January of 2018, and we've been filing monthly. And we'll click Save and Next. It's a pretty user-friendly interface, and it allows the taxpayer to put in information about their business quickly and set up their profile in your account. We'll go ahead and say they don't have any other physical locations, and we'll just click Save and Next. And we'll go ahead and say yes to the inventory, so I can show you a feature that's pretty slick. If they do fulfillment by Amazon, all they have to do is click on this button here, and it'll automatically populate all the states that have the Amazon fulfillment warehouses. I'm not going to go ahead and do that in here in the interest of time, but that's an easy feature for them to do, and they'd have to go ahead and put in the month and year they started for each one of those locations. Click Save and Next. Maybe they have employees in certain locations. In this case, we'll just say they're all in Washington. We'll go Save and Next. Same thing with third-party relationships. This is other types of nexus, warranty services, agency contracts, subcontractors, things like that that could create a nexus in a taxing jurisdiction. We'll go ahead and say no to that. At this point, we're going to ask them what's their annual revenue, and this is an estimate, so it doesn't have to be precise. The higher the number, the lower the score, because the higher the number will mean that they're more likely to be exposed under the threshold testing limits in more taxing jurisdictions, just based on population demographics. Same thing with the higher number of estimated annual transactions. Here we can say whether or not the sales are subject to tax. If they don't know, that's fine. You can always change this later, but we'll say they do some sales for resale. We'll also say they have marketplace facilitator sales, and this is a critical differentiator. If they do have a marketplace facilitator sale, we use the gross receipts for threshold testing, but then we serve to reduce that amount by the liability that was collected and remitted on behalf of them through the marketplace facilitator, such as Amazon or Etsy. We ask whether or not they use invoices or credit memos, so on and so forth. And then finally, we get into the business operation, and perhaps we said software, so we'll say they're a digital goods provider, software as a service, and we'll say software for business use. Software for personal use is taxed slightly differently. We'll say businesses, and we'll say in the US and internationally. And then we'll go get our score. And at this point, the taxpayer is completed. 36 is a score. The score is a pretty low score. It's indicated by the red factor. And at this time, the taxpayer will be completed with the survey, and their information will land in your portal. And I'll go back to the portal real quickly and show you that if we go look up Inspire, we find them, and we can go look at the practice summary. We will see that the client profile is now populated in the LumaTax portal. So everything that the taxpayer put in is now in here in your portal. And the nice feature about this is that you can at any time update the client profile, or you can add physical presence locations or any other data attributes that you find out maybe the taxpayer was incorrect at. Now, I know you've got a lot of information to digest there, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to see this in its first pass, and hopefully this will help you when you're launching your savings for your taxpayers. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll have another session shortly.